Welcome back to Prime Your Day, Prime Your Midlife. And as you can see today, I've got Nadio on his houseboat in Putney. I mean, I can't compete with that backdrop already. And today we're going to talk about something that's probably going to touch all of you in some way, shape or form, which is being diagnosed with cancer and how you transform your mindset to cope with that kind of news, or how do you help others when they are given that sentence? Nadio is one of what I call a true servants of life. I've known him for so many years, and he came back into my life at a time when, I don't know, we just kind of found each other. But he's always brilliant with his words. And sorry, Nadio, I've just completely sold you on the river there, haven't I? Always brilliant with words. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I hope I'm articulate as, after that introduction, but I'm fine. A little croaky, but that's normal for me on the morning.
Just give us a little zoom around. If you can just turn your camera around, let us just appreciate exactly where you are this morning.
Can you see?
I can see that. It just looks absolutely sublime.
So this is where I live. So it's actually, you mentioned Putney, it's actually Chiswick Marina. Just
okay. All right.
Down the Putney. But we'll forgive you that.
I was listening actually to Virgin Radio last night, and Gabby Roslin was on talking about exactly what you are, houseboats. Is anybody on a houseboat? I was desperately thinking, oh, I should text you by the time you got the text and stuff. But first of all, can you tell me what made you suddenly come to a houseboat in Chiswick?
Well, I guess the biggest shift was from Huddersfield in Yorkshire to London. So a bit like a modern day Dick Whittington. I just decided 6.5 years ago that it was time for a move. A friend told me down here recently, we went to school together, and he said, you always wanted to move to London. And I'm really? He said, yeah, I remember when we were in the 4th year at school, you said that you were going to live in London. I was like, oh, I can't quite. So it must have been somewhere in there. But I've travelled a lot in the past. I cycled to Sudan and back, and I lived in Australia for a while and hitchhiked all around and stuff. So I've done a bit of travelling. And I guess I got to a stage where my children were grown up. I was single, and I came to this place called London. No friends, no job, no nothing, and started again. So London was 6 years ago. I moved into various places, but I made my way to West London, realised that I was in a pretty nice place, and thought, well, I want to stay here. I like it here. Expensive, and so after paying rent for 2 or 3 years, I couldn't afford to buy. Not in this area, but a boat came up for sale, and so well, that sounds quite good value, and bought the boat. And so I'm not a boater. I wasn't a cyclist when I cycled 12,000 miles. I'm not a boater, but you learn on the job. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, the first question we also get on this podcast, and we're going to dive into some of those things you talked about there about making those changes, but it's around midlife, and you're always a very good thinker. So what does it mean to you, that phrase midlife? Does it conjure up a feeling of crisis or mindset for you, Nadio?
Well, yeah, since you invited me to do the podcast, I've had a little bit of time to think about it. I mean, I don't like it at all. I don't like the idea of a midlife crisis. It's a midlife springboard, isn't it? Isn't it? What's this thing about bloody crisis? I don't see a crisis. I see an opportunity to push on, take everything we've learned, reboot, and move on. So I certainly don't think my life is a crisis. Observers might, people might say, well, you had all of that and you gave it all away and you start again and what have you. But actually, I think if we could all reboot at least half a dozen times in our lives. I think I think we should. I think it's good. It's healthy. It's I'm 58 now. I can't get up early enough in the morning. I've got so much to do. I love it. I love it. So it's certainly not a crisis.
All right. Well, long live the Nadio on that one. I'm actually you're behind that. Springboard. I haven't heard that before, but I might just plagiarize that. Okay. So I'm going to go straight for the heart here, Nadio. I heard your news, and I was crestfallen by it. But can you just help the viewers and the listeners understand your journey from health to cancer? Where were you? How did it happen? And just talk us through, if you're able to, what happened there, so other people can really empathize and understand what that means.
Okay, well, I'll try and keep it short. It is it's a long journey, and it's hard to get all of the elements into it.
Let's just break it down then. Just talk about the sort of the initial parts of how you felt, how you discovered, and then how that discovery then went to sort of diagnosis.
Yeah, well, I was, you'll be able to read about it in the book. I am writing a book about it, and I've blogged, so the blog will be transferred into a book. But basically, I am living on the boat. I bought the boat in September. I think 18 months into lockdown and all of the COVID fiasco and all of that sort of stuff, pandemic. And September, October, 2 years ago, I get my years all mixed up, but anyway, and beautiful. We had a heat wave, absolutely amazing, and partying on a boat in Chiswick Marina doesn't get much better than that. And then by October, November, December, January into winter, it's a bit different. It's pretty cold. I think we hit about -8 at one point. And the problem with this particular boat is it hadn't been lived on for a couple of years, and the electricity wasn't working very well. The diesel central heating failed on day 2, blah 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 blah. So there are challenges with, but your buyer's scene and all of that sort of stuff. So you have to say, anyway. But it got to February time, -6, -8. I'd spent Christmas with a sore throat, but I used to get laryngitis a little bit as a previous lecturer at university. If you do a big stint, 6 hours of lecturing, a day, your voice goes. So no big deal. Got to the end of February, the sore throat had been and gone, but I'd got a small lump on the side of the neck. Looked a little bit like the Adam's apple, but over that, and didn't particularly hurt, but a little concerning. Went to the GP, bearing in mind that because I live on a boat, having an address, having a postcode, all of that sort of stuff. I mean, the boat doesn't bloody move, but still, it's not, you're one of 6 liveaboards in a marina of 50 boats. Postcodes and things can be a bit tricky. The doctor originally didn't want to look at me, or the reception didn't want to look at me because I'm no longer on their books and all this sort of stuff. So I said, this lump needs looking at. Please put your admin to one side. Let me see the old doctor that I used to see, and then I'll move to a new doctor's practice in due course. So anyway, it was the first day that the doctor's surgery reopened during the pandemic, and it was like his crime scene. It was yellow tape everywhere, and don't touch me, don't stand too close to the reception desk. It was as frosty as a doctor's surgery can ever be. Anyway, I got seen, and the locum just looked at me. She felt my neck, and in about 30 seconds she said, "We're going to fast track you." And I'm like, "What do you mean fast track me?" She said, "Well," I said, what are you looking for? She said, "Well, we're looking to eliminate cancer." Came as a bit of a, it wasn't a shock, but hearing it is a shock. The reason it wasn't such a massive shock was because an old colleague of mine, he'd had throat cancer, and I knew a little bit about it. So anyway, she said, "Look, I'll send you for an ultrasound, and that will help us to establish what it what it is, what it is. She said, expect a call in a couple of weeks, blah, 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 blah. This is pandemic time, you know, nothing's moving quite so quickly. So, you know, I a bit nervous. Anyway, there's a funny story about that, but I don't know if I've got time to tell you, but I'll tell you in a sec. So I wait a couple of weeks. I'm expecting to wait a couple of weeks, but actually within 2 days, I got a phone call. And I went for the ultrasound. The ultrasound, she's spending 20 minutes on this side and 20 minutes on this side. And I'm like, you know, hang on a minute, but you know, it's here, it's not over there. And that hurt and was quite concerning. And then that led to another appointment, supposed to be in another 2 or 3 weeks. He came through in 2 or 3 days. That was for a camera up the nose into the back of the throat. They discovered I think I'm doing this in the right order, but they discovered a bit of fluff, as they called it, in the back of the throat. I then went for some needles in the throat, in the neck and stuff, and tested it. That was quite scary and painful, but and then ultimately a CAT scan, I think it was. It's like lying underneath a tractor on full rev with, you know, and they pin you down, you know, 45 minutes underneath this massive machine. It's all this noise. I suffer a bit from claustrophobia. You don't have to suffer from claustrophobia to not enjoy that experience.
I can remember reading your blog about that, and I can remember how you articulated the feeling then of literally, you know, being incarcerated by this steel and machine and the noise and the vibration. And you were a brilliant writer. I was in the moment going, oh, I want that to happen. Yeah.
Oh God, that was tough. And I've had MRI scans, and you know, lying still is not my natural thing, but you know, but when your head's pinned in. So anyway, and then ultimately they call you in and they say, you know, Mr. Granata, it's, you know, you've got a tumor. I think it was 5 centimeters. 4.5, 5 centimeters. I didn't ask too much about it. I'm not really, you know, when I go to the dentist, it's like, just whip it out, just do what you got to do. You know, I'm not interested in, you know, I trust you. You're the expert, so get on with it. So they gave me a fair bit of information, but I was quite, by this time, you know, I'd been back to my friend who had it, who'd been treated. He gave me the gory details. I knew, and he was right. Absolutely every detail as it transpired was right. So I knew what to expect. I went with my friend, and she and I sort of sat down. We were both quite relaxed, and the oncologist, at one point she left the room and went, and my friend, she said something quite funny to me, and your emotions are high, and we cried with laughter. And the oncologist came back in. She said, "Oh, I'm really sorry," because she could see it. She said, no, we're laughing. And like, really? You know, this is bizarre. You know, we don't normally have laughter in this particular department. But anyway, it was that was the beginning of it. And then you go through. It's a bit of a whirlwind. Then it's actually on the day, I think they took me for my bloods. I had about 6 or 7 different blood samples. That's quite a shocker when you see all these different samples coming out of your arm.
Yeah, and just by way of context for the listeners and the watchers, I mean, you work for yourself, so time is money, and suddenly you've got this huge expectation that you've got to do these tests and these bloods. How were you processing all of that interruption to what was already quite a hectic, chaotic lifestyle?
Badly. In a word, badly. I'm you know, I'm self-employed and I'm always looking for work. So if anyone's listening to this, you know, I'm a freelance marketing consultant, but my admin's not good. I'm crap at admin. Don't, you know, you can leave it in there, but you know, so organizing multiple visits to multiple hospitals or clinics across this big place called London, when you're from Huddersfield, you know, I mean, I only know what's at the end of my street, you know, I'm still trying to get used. Anyway, so a lot of appointments. I mean, even that first ultrasound, I rocked up on the wrong day, you know, right hospital, but wrong day. But they were great. I've got to say, the treatment has been absolutely amazing. my treatment coincided with my tennis partner. And this is bizarre, but my tennis partner at Barnes Tennis Club, about a week after I'd gone public, if you like, with my treatment, he rang me up. He said, "You're not going to believe it. I've got cancer too." He had cancer of the esophagus. We were same journey, different path, different path, if you like, different type of cancer, though locally you'd have thought it was similar. And we were comparing notes, and my journey was very quick treatment plan. The treatment started very quickly, and 6 weeks of intense everyday radiotherapy and 2 lots of chemo. He went on some sort of clinical trial, so he had to wait a few weeks for his trial to start, and then it started.
Okay, I just want to go back to a couple of things that sprung up for me there. When you first felt that that lump, and you decided you had to go past the doctor, and they didn't want you on the books, but you just sort of carried on rattling the cage to say, no, I'm here and I want to get this sorted, and therefore you were persistent. Have you reflected to think, well, what if I hadn't done that and I just accepted it like most men do? We just think, oh, it'll go away, it's nothing.
Actually, that is a good question, and I'm glad I asked you to elaborate. So yeah, I mean, it's easy, Chris, to I don't do doctors. I've never, I've hardly ever been to a doctor's, and I have had, through many years, I've been close to people who've got MS or had MS, Parkinson's, motor neuron. One of my best friends sadly passed away from motor neurons, and so I am aware of health and serious health issues, but it's never affected me. So yeah, it would have been very easy to walk away from that doctor's surgery and say, okay, all right, I'll go find myself a doctor's. I can tell you now, had I have done that, it would have been weeks before I've got my act together. But just luckily I stuck in there and I was seen. So yeah, tenacity. In the context of this podcast, if there's any guys out there listening, do not hesitate. Don't get lazy. Don't get complacent. And I tell you what, Chris, that there's no heroics about your health. There's nothing. You fuck up with your health. You ignore those signs, and you're no hero. You're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you are. I would not hold anybody in any higher regard if they told me, yeah, I had a lump and I ignored it for 6 months. Sorry, mate. More fool you.
Nadio, I just want to appreciate you. I've got my hairs on my arms are currently kind of because you've just struck a chord there of, don't ignore it. You're an idiot. I'm going to take that and certainly take that as an excerpt from this. The second question I was thinking is that you clearly were thinking, who can help me? Where can I go for my own comfort or education? And you reached out to other people that you knew had maybe already been on the journey. Again, was that something that comes naturally to you, or did it just suddenly think, oh, I know my mates had this, and therefore I'm going to ask the questions?
Yeah, I'm blessed with a lot of friends. Got a lot of friends, family. Though I live on my own, I don't live by myself, if that makes sense. I do reach out. And so yeah, it's a natural thing to me. I've done it to you many times in the past, Chris. I've got a bit of a business query here and pick up the phone and what have you. So it's natural for me to reach out and ask. It's not. I do not necessarily do the detail stuff. I don't. I'm more about emotion. I'm more about what's that? What did that do to you? How did you feel about that? So when I spoke to my friend who'd had the throat cancer, funny enough, he wanted to tell me everything. He wanted to relay everything back to me. And he said to me at one point, very early on, he said, I'd really like to mentor somebody. I'd really like to give somebody something that I didn't particularly have, because he didn't have a mentor, he didn't have someone to lean on, and he naturally became my mentor, my go-to person. I think I did him more good than he did me, because to a certain extent, when he started to describe some of the journey I was going to go on, it did, you know, it's like, whoa, 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 too much information, too much information. Now, let me just discover that. But yeah, I do reach out, I do ask, but I don't necessarily do forums. I'm not interested in joining a WhatsApp group and having 50 different opinions. You know, one person was enough for me, and then just get on with it.
Okay, so you didn't go into the, you know, the pits of Google and process all the things that the worst case scenario. It was very much leaning into somebody that was congruent to your own experiences and picking as much education from them as possible.
Yeah, and I think a bit of that comes from a friend about the motor neuron, and I'll never ever forget it. It took him about an hour and a half to articulate why he was there, because he couldn't, you know, it was pre-diagnosis, but he was going through some tests and he was so emotional about it. And what had happened was he'd had some issue with his throat as well. And those his early symptoms. His speech was going a bit, you know, and he Googled it. And you know, it frightened the life out of him. I mean, in his case, his prognosis or diagnosis, whatever was correct. And I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I knew enough.
Yeah. Okay. So you obviously got that news, and you know you're laughing with your oncologist and your friend. We'll go through maybe some of the key stages, but you decided to do something that I found hugely curious, which was to blog and to vlog about your experiences. Was that something, again, that you decided to do because it was natural to you, or did it come to you as a bit of an epiphany to say, this is how I can help other people? Or was it your own coping strategy? Where did that come from, that idea?
Excuse me. It actually came from a moment of frustration. So, and I'm choosing my words carefully, but I shouldn't choose my words carefully. So basically, my one of my members of my family is in care. He's a nurse, is a senior nurse, and quite early on, I was sort of made aware that there were people, my family, my children, I've got 3 children. 2 of them are still in Yorkshire. 1 lives here in London. But my whole sort of tight family group got a little panicked by this, and oh my God, Dad's got cancer. He can't live on a boat. He's got to, you know, he's got to come back up to Huddersfield. You know, who's gonna put him up? You know, who's gonna? And there was a bit of a thing going on, and it was like, whoa. I'm happy on my boat. I've got a treatment team here in London. It's been brilliant so far. I will see this through in my boat on my own. I'm fine. And so I decided I needed to get one message out to everybody. They needed to hear it from me. And so that's basically why I started blogging. The second reason, I guess, is once I'd started to write the blog, the catharticism aspect of that, I felt better for doing it. You sort of go up and down. I mean, even this interview with you now, Christian, is bringing stuff back to me, and you know. The blog helped.
Okay. So I'm just going to bring a moment here. If anybody that just while Nadio composes himself, and again, I appreciate you massively. There was a moment where you did a vlog, and he's riding, he's picked up an electric bike somewhere. He's riding down the towpath of the Chiswick sort of canal, phone in one hand on the steering wheel, talking to the camera at like 15 miles an hour. And I'm thinking, never mind cancer, you're going to just go a cropper and go off the towpath and go head over heels into the water. It was such a funny moment. You did make me laugh so much. And I was just thinking, for the love of somebody, please just keep it safe. But I realized by then it was too late because you'd already filmed it, you'd already processed it, and you were going to be safe. But did you have any sort of feelings of, what on earth am I doing trying to film this and riding a bike at 15 miles an hour down a canal towpath?
No, but I have a lot of people picked up on it. I don't know how many views I got. I think I got a few hundred views of that. But no. But the other thing about the writing and the vlogging is, I was lucky. I knew that my treatment was a 6-week treatment plan. I didn't ask at that time what level my cancer was at, and I didn't ask what my survival rate was. Those are two dramatic questions I wasn't prepared to ask at that point in time. I wanted to make sure I was on top of things before I dealt with some of that sort of stuff. But I knew one thing for sure: you don't start slow, you start pretty quickly. All the treatment, you get chemo. I got chemo on day 1, I got radiotherapy on day 1, blah, blah, blah. Well, after the 6-week treatment plan. But you get worse. Your health deteriorates quite significantly, quite quickly. So week 1, you don't feel the effects particularly. A bit tired, a bit tired. Obviously disrupted because your life's changed around. You have to go to hospital every day, etc., etc. Emotionally a little tough because you're in a waiting room where you see other people. My treatment starts with a small operation to have a tube fitted to the stomach. That's an overnight jobby. You're in a ward, a cancer ward, with 5 other guys. 3 of them didn't make it through to the next day. That's pretty. Of those 3, at least 1 or 2 hadn't seen family or friends for months because it was COVID. And not allowed in. One guy moved in his bed about 3 inches that night, and the next morning he told me that's the most he's moved in 6 months. He's got cancer of the spine. I felt an imposter. You've talked about imposter syndrome on some of your talks before. I felt I didn't belong there. Felt I was taking up hospital time. I was taking up a bed. I was a fake. I mentioned this to one of the guys. Actually, said it's not a competition. It's not a competition, and that helped a lot. When I went for chemo, my chemo bag was only a little bag, it was only a crisp packet of a bag, and people were there with a sack full of the stuff, and I'm like, I'm obviously not as ill as that person because they've got more chemos than me. It turned out I was stage 3 point some, so it's 3 out of 4, so it's a fairly. And expectancy, I think they said to me it was 75%, and my oncologist who knew me by then said, "You're such a positive person, I'm sure that you'll be happy with 75%." I said, "No, I thought it was 99." It was a bad day for me when they said you 75% survived. I'm thinking, shit. That's
did they offer that to you because they just offered it, or did you ask for it?
I asked for it. I asked for it on week about 6 maybe towards the end of the treatment. The treatment, you still carry on with different treatments, but towards the end of the radiotherapy. Okay,
so you're processing all that, and life is changing literally minute by minute, not even day by day, and you're still living on your houseboat in Chiswick, basically on your own. How was that?
Well, I'd had a girlfriend for 3 years prior to the day of the diagnosis, and the day that I was diagnosed, that we split. We split because we were already going through a bit of cabin fever. Living together on a boat in winter is not ideal. The pandemic was it was continuing. She was working intensely in her career. I was trying to get my new business off the ground. So there's a lot you can imagine. I mean, you know, you've got every stress in the world going on, and we were just about at the, you know, getting to a point where it was like, what should we do? And then it, you know, after the consultation, we were talking about life, about future, about past and stuff, and you know, we split, and so I guess what happened then was I just you know, it would be discourteous of me to say she did me a favor, because that's not how I felt and how I feel now. But in a way, yes, it allowed me to just focus on my own journey. There's no more. There was, you know, it was just all about me, and actually, you know, I found the resolve. I wrote a blog about, imagine that you're climbing Everest, and you know you're doing it. Nobody climbs Everest within a day. You know, you've got the planning, you've got your thought processes, and you get to base camp. Well, I got to base camp, and my rucksack, figuratively speaking, was a Sainsbury's shopping bag. You know, it was not robust. It wasn't the sort of kit that I needed to get up that mountain. And so I took stock, and I had a word with myself. I love that expression. I had a word with myself, and I got myself more prepared for what was to come.
Okay, and what were the kind of things that were pulling you through? Was it ringing the bell at the end? Was it revealing the big reveal in your last vlog that you would clear? What was pulling you towards that positive mantra of, we're going to get through this? I'm going to talk to my
kids.
Take your time. It's okay. We're all right behind you, mate. And you know, again, I appreciate how tough this is. Yeah.
It was. I suppose kids. My daughter, who I meant to mention earlier when you said, did you Google it? I didn't Google, but I asked my daughter to Google certain things for me, and she filtered it for me. So she said, Dad, you know, I think you can get help with this. I think if you eat well, and she sent me a juicer, you know, stop eating takeaways and all that stuff. And so she Googled it, but my daughter.
And was she aware that you were stage 3 point at that stage as well, in terms of the significance of that rating?
No, nobody knew that, and I didn't tell them for a while after I found out. But she had a little baby, and she was planning a marriage. My son, him and his girlfriend were expecting a baby. So, but Gabby's baby was born. I get that times and months on mixed up, but she was only a few months old, literally weeks old, and we used video. We used to do Zoom calls, and there were many occasions when I would be walking to the hospital, which is about an hour's walk from here on a good day, and I'd say, look, can I just have a quick Zoom? And I would go underneath the mask and under the machine and hold that thought, and it was beautiful. So that was easy.
So obviously it wasn't all a garden of roses, and it wasn't all just great, everything's perfect. There must have been a low point, Nadio, for you. What was that, and how did that transpire, and most importantly, how did you pull yourself out of that?
Okay. Well, bizarrely, but as predicted by my friend who had had the throat cancer, it came after the treatment. So physically, the low points, the radiotherapy burns through. So you're creaming on all sorts of cream to prevent blister, and you get to week 3, and it's like, I mean, you can't eat particularly well. You have to feed through the stomach. You get all these sort of things going on. But the neck, I just got a little blister, little blister. And you know, I should have named it. I should have given it a little name, because that little blister became a big blister, all of it. And then it weeps and all this, and it is painful. It is painful. But despite physically that being very painful, and you're vomiting and all sorts of stuff like that, so the pain was sort of weeks 6, 7, 8. But emotionally, the toughest part is when you're actually well on the way to recovery, probably week 10, 11, 12, and you've climbed that mountain. As I would describe, you're at the, you know, you've done it, you're through, you know, there's no more treatment. Someone actually said to me early on, she said, your recovery is at twice the rate of the downhill. So on a graph, you sort of go down like that, and then you recover quite quickly. I'm not quite sure if that's correct, but anyway, but you do recover, and you sort of, you know, every day you just notice a little bit more, and that's quite good. That's good. That's empowering. That you feel great. But emotionally, it's like, shit, I'm gonna have to go back to work. I'm gonna have to, you know, I've had all of this focus on climbing the mountain, and I'm up there now. And I spoke to I've got a personal coach, if you like, and she said to me, she said, don't slide back down. Imagine, you know, you're up there, but you could, you know, imagine it's a slide, and if you're not careful, you're going to and so I determined to stay at the top of the mountain a bit longer, to stay up there as long as I could, and to work my path back down in a metaphoric sense, which meant basically to give myself a bit of time. Don't start planning your next career move straight away. Don't put yourself under that pressure. Don't open the post for a few more days. Just leave all of that shit there, you know, and just buy yourself a bit of time. But it was tough, because you've done, you know, the drama's over, you know, and you're having to get back on with normal life. So that was tough. But
okay, so 59. Would you have? It's difficult to ask. Would you change anything? But do you feel? I've lost your camera. You're back again. Do you feel as though this has spurred you on to do more? Has it changed you? Is it the biggest test? Lots of questions there, but you know, reflecting now, what do you think about this this period of your life?
I'm excited. I'm always, you know, you know, my coach said to me, she said, you live your life like a zigzag. She said, you know, most people's lives sort of develop, and then you get to a certain age and you look at retirement, off you go. Mine sort of goes like this, you know, 3 or 4 career changes, you know, lived in different places, that sort of thing. So for me, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I don't sweat the small stuff. You know, I probably have some, you know, some financial challenges I need to sort out. You know, I need to get myself more work. I work a couple of days a week for an organisation that I'm very proud about. I get odd contracts and what have you. But yeah, I do need to get the career back on track. I've always believed, I've never really had a career. I'm a jobber. I do jobs, I do projects, I do things that excite me, and if they don't excite me, I don't do them. The bank account reflects that, you know, and you get to a certain age where you think, you know, I'm going to start putting something in the bank now. I don't want to retire. I do get a bit frustrated with people that talk to me all about their retirement plans. I'm thinking, guys, what would I do if I retired? So I've got a lot of things I want to do, and it's given me purpose. It's given me, I feel cherished. It's reminded me, you know, if ever I needed it. I'm not as needy as I used to be. I used to be, you know, we blokes, we can be very needy as blokes. I'm not so needy now. I sort of know that if I need it, it's there. So I don't have to go looking for it anymore in that sense. I know it's there. If I need the you know, the love and affection of my family and friends, it's there. I just don't need to call on it right now.
Okay. So I'm kind of coming towards the end to a degree, but I ask everybody to talk about the way I describe life sometimes as the first and the second mountain. It's bizarre that you use the Everest analogy as well. The first mountain being the one that perhaps isn't about purpose or calling or ikigai. It's about just, you know, the pursuit of career and being seen to be the amazing do-gooder, and you know you're just doing things because you're applying yourself to societal norms. And then you perhaps move into a second mountain, which is a lot more about calling and purpose and doing things because you feel as though that's pulling you. Have you got any lessons from any part of that first mountain, and where do you think you are? Are you on your second mountain now, or are you on your 10th?
Yeah.
The lessons first. What lessons could you give anybody listening or watching about now being 59 and looking backwards, if they're maybe 25, 30 and doing the burnout and absolutely hammering it and just trying to get everything nailed in because of the chief title or the financial title? What's the lesson you could give back to those people that are maybe just on the foothills of their first mountain?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, obviously health, you know, I went to Huddersfield Town, got into the playoffs recently, and I went to Wembley to see them. They lost against Notts Forest, and good luck Notts Forest, because we got hammered when we were in the Premiership recently. So good luck to them. But that day was a bit of a reunion for me. I met a lot of old schoolmates and friends of friends, and a lot of us are in our late 50s, and there was a lot of ill health. There's a lot of ill health. A lot of my friends are way overweight. I mean, one guy had a heart attack and he was still 3 stone overweight. Another guy had a stroke. He was 2.5 stone overweight. Blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to you, and I've put loads of weight. I lost 3 stone in about 8 weeks, and I've probably put a good stone back on. So I need to sort of, for me personally, I need to get into a health routine, a fitness. But I would say the lessons are health, look after health. Follow your passion. Don't stress is no good for you. Stay away from stress, you know. And I guess the biggest thing for me is stay away from people that suck the blood out of you. You know, there's a lot of people out there who transfer their stress onto you. Avoid that's their stress. You know, I don't mind giving advice where I can. I don't mind supporting people if I can. But if they're not listening, then move on, because they'll just stress you out, and I ain't got time for stress.
Beautiful. All right. So follow your passion. Absolutely health. And we're all about that on the Midlife Mindset. Health is such an empirical part of everything that we try and do. And so many things are connected to that. And also the stress thing and the environment of bad people and toxicity. So looking forward from now, and I love the book, The 100-Year Life, and you talk about the stages of people's lives, no retirement. We just go through different chapters. So looking forward from now to 89, 99, wherever you know your course may take you. What are the lessons that you're now taking from the last real test that you've had into the next chapter?
I think to be self-content, to do what I need to do, not what others think I should be doing. You know, I've got stuff to do. I've got to finish the book. I've got to finish the poetry, etc. I sort of have this thing. I know that I hope you don't laugh at this. You're entitled to, but I have this thing where we only need £1 more than we're going to spend. Right, so imagine a scenario where you've got a successful business and you still work until you're 85. Blah. You might be doing that because you're driven, but some people work particularly hard and they extend their working career for financial security reasons. But if they knew that actually they've got, can you hear?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah,
and my battery's running out on this, but. But if they knew that they've got more than enough, then switch your focus to something else. For me, and it's not about what you start your career as or what you're doing; it's how you end it's what you're doing when you finish your career. And I'm very excited about the projects that I want to be doing as I moving to the latter stage now. Yeah.
Okay, for anybody that hasn't found your blogs, can you just tell us how we can find those, and also anything else that we can do to support you with your own quest for self-fulfillment with job or work or even community building? What can we do to help you, Nadia?
Oh, crikey. Well, follow me on LinkedIn, Nadio Granata, LinkedIn, connect with me. I will be launching a new product shortly with a new bunch of partners. I'm a co-director of an organizer which you'll love. It's about retraining the brain, and to your point about health, you know, your mental state affects your physical state, and we can help to reduce obesity and diabetes and stress. This is just by sheer coincidence that this opportunities come my way. The founder read my blog, and we got talking about poetry and about the power of words, and we started to exchange ideas, and then it turns out she works in neuroscience and she needs someone to market her product. So cancer is not a death sentence. It doesn't have to be. It could be the start of something really new, and in my case it has been a reboot. It's been a kick up the arse, and I'd say just watch this space, Chris. Nadio.co.uk. Nadio.co.uk is the blog.
Okay. I'm going to call you out because you talked about the word of lucky and coincidence, and as Gary Player used to say in golf, it's funny, the more I practice, the luckier I get. And it's no coincidence that she found you because you wrote a blog. Had you not written a blog, then of course there's no chance that she would have ever found you. So yeah, I want to really appreciate you as an upstanding human being, as somebody that really serves. And the words that you wrote during your own journey, they got to my heart. I mean, I've lost both my parents to cancer, and you bringing some of that rawness, that emotion, and some real feeling through those words, you definitely have a calling there, sir. And I urge you hard to lean into that poetry and lean into that writing, because it serves so many people in so many different ways.
Well, thank you for that. This battery's going to die. Last point I would make is a shout out for Macmillans. Look after Macmillan.
Completely.
They look after me.
Nadia, it's been a real pleasure and an honor sharing this screen with you today. I look forward to your continued transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a really beautiful discussion today. Remember, we do only have one life, so love life, living life.